Mike Wakeman, owner and winemaker here at McConnell Estates Winery. We are a fifth generation farming family in the Elk Grove area. We started growing our first grapes in 1992, so we're actually relatively new to the grape business, and we started the winery here in 2003. We're a small boutique winery. We only do about 2,500 cases a year. All of our production is here locally on our property, so it's all 100% estate grown. We have Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, Tempranillo, Tannat, Barbera, Zinfandel, of course, and then a Primitivo. So we do a whole different variety of wines using a sort of I call it old world style wine. Not a lot of oak, just enough to give it some flavors, but then just have some really nice supple flavors that come through in all of the different wines and making a varietal characteristics of the wine. So make sure the Merlot tastes like a Merlot, make sure the Cabernet truly tastes like a Cabernet. And with Tempranillo, make sure we have those really interesting flavors you get from that Spanish varietal grape. So when we go into our bottling, most of our wines will sit in the barrel, all of our red wines will sit in the barrel for about 2 years, 18 months to 2 years. And what we'll do then, we'll take all of our wines out of the barrels and we put them in the tanks. And then from the tanks, we go right into the bottling wine. So the week before, we do all of our filtering and a lot of our blending and stuff before the truck actually gets here. And we try to have everything all set up and ready to go in the tanks. So all we have to do is hook up the hose to the tank, and you hook up the hose to the bottling truck. Once it gets into the bottling truck, we have guys who are putting glass onto a conveyor belt, goes through the conveyor belt, washes the bottles out. It'll go in, fill it, cork it, capsule it, and then the last thing it goes through as it runs through and puts the labels on it. And then it comes back out the other side of the truck where the guys are sitting there hand putting the bottles in the boxes, and it rolls out, and then we put it onto the pallet. And then from the pallet, it'll go into the storage facility, and we usually let our wine sit another 6 months in the storage facility in order for them to settle down. They get pretty, I call it beat up when we go through the bottling process, being pumped and everything else. Allows those flavors to actually come back together and make a really nice wine. And once it goes to storage, from there, it goes right to the consumer, because all of our stuff here mostly is direct to consumer. I'd say 95% of our wines are sold here out of the winery. We bottled 2,500 cases that day, and we bottled 10 different wines. So we did 3 different whites and we did 7 different reds. And so it was a lot of changing over and everything else. So it was a busy day. It took us about 12 hours to get through that whole bottling. One of the new labels was we'd never done a Rosé of Syrah, so we did a Rosé of Syrah that day. So that had a new label on it. We also did a couple new labels. One is called our Wine Dudes, which is a blend of Primitivo and Petite Syrah. And on the label is our 2 Labradoodles that we have, Geronimo and Chewy. And so they're here all the time. If anybody stops in the winery, they've always seen Geronimo around or Chewy. And so we put a label for them. We also did we call a Sheepherder's Blend. This place used to be a sheep ranch. So clear up until 1980, we ran about 1,000 head of sheep on the property here. We moved in the grapes in '93. Sheep had been on this ranch since the 1850s. And so we decided to do a dedication to, the past history of our ranch here, and we put a sheep on the label. And we called it the Sheepherder's Blend. It is actually a blend of Tempranillo and Barbera. So both of those different varieties, one from Spain, that variety originally comes from Spain, that we were able to grow here. We have similar climates that they do in Spain. And Tempranillo is grown in the Basque region, of course. Basque are known for a lot of the sheep and stuff. And then the Barbera, the same, is a grape that has its origins in Italy, in the northern part of Italy. And same thing, a lot of sheep up in that area. So we combine the two together. It's about a 75% Barbera and 25% Tempranillo, and has made a really nice wine. So we put a Suffolk sheep on it. We used to raise Suffolk here. We have a Barbera that we released last year that we actually have run out of, that we had a Columbia sheep on. So we're doing a little dedication to the history of the sheep farming. The McConnells did back in the day, and then our family continued on when we inherited the ranch over the years.